Shiesty the General, Third Society Radio, every Monday, 8 to 10. I'm here with my co-host, Rudy Rudacious.
Spoken Word MC, baby.
Rudy, did you get a chance to listen to Lord Jamar's comments on Vlad TV about spoken word?
Yeah, I did. I peeped it.
And what did you think?
I don't think what he said was accurate. I don't think it was accurate at all. In all actuality, like I had to keep listening to it. You know what I'm saying? Like the first time I heard it, and I'm still not mad at what he said or anything like that.
I was gonna ask you that. Was you offended?
Yeah, no. I wasn't mad at what he said. I just feel like it just wasn't accurate what he said. You know what I'm saying? And I watched it. I've been watching it numerous amount of times. Like, I think for the people that don't know, what he said was like, you know, they were talking about battle rap first.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were talking about the Total Slaughter event. And Lord Jamar made a comment about battle rap, saying that battle rap is like glorified spoken word. Yeah,
like battle rap was the gladiators.
Yeah, but he's just saying it's like glorified spoken word. And he said I'm not mad at it though. You know, he was saying a lot of people, like, you know, they appreciated the creativity in spoken word, but that, you know, there was a lot of, I'm putting this in his words, foo-foo, finger snapping, let's drink some tea shit. And then Vlad brought up an interview that he did with Talib Kweli, where Talib Kweli talked about coming from the spoken word scene.
Yeah, having a spoken word background.
Yeah, coming up in it with Mos Def.
Right.
And Lord Jamar even made a comment saying that's soft genre. And then they began to talk about how in spoken word people don't necessarily get booed, even if they're not necessarily great.
Right, and whereas battle rap, they'll boo you if you suck.
They'll boo you.
Automatically.
Yeah, automatically. You know what I mean? And Lord Jamar kind of mocked that and was like, you know, almost like being like, I think he said something along the lines of like, yeah, you know, because he went up there and told his story, even though it wasn't good, but he told his truth, you know. Right. And then the main thing that he said was, this was the grand finale. he said, now why is that? He said because spoken word leans towards a more feminine sensibility, and rap leans to a more male sensibility. You know
masculine.
Yeah, masculine. You know what I'm saying? Masculine sensibility.
And as soon as he said that, I thought of you. I thought it automatically. As soon as he said that, I said,
I ain't gonna lie, man. I watched it, I was like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I'm not the type to get mad off of shit necessarily, but I like to take my time to think about it. You know what I'm saying? I like to think in a lot of different scenarios or whatever. So it's interesting that you hit me up about this or whatever and asked me, you know, to get my opinion on it, because I've been thinking about it a lot. The first thing things that he said, right? He said soft, spoken word is soft.
Right.
He said it lends itself to a feminine sensibility, and people don't get booed. You know what I'm saying? So, as far as spoken word being soft, that's hard. That's a hard thing for me to really co-sign. And the reason I say that, and I'm not saying that you know, there aren't people who aren't this way, but when you look at the people who really put spoken word in the forefront, it was actually very deeply rooted in revolution. You understand what I'm saying? Right. The last poets. You know what I'm saying? People like the last poets, Gil Scott Heron. Those are some of the people that really brought spoken word to the forefront. And they had poems, you know, the last poets had a poem called Niggas Are Scared of Revolution. Gil Scott Heron got a poem called The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Something that even rappers, you know what I'm saying? Rappers quote and stuff like that. And a lot of people will say that Gil Scott Heron is the godfather of hip hop. That a lot of people took his style of writing and that was the format that kind of became rap. Right. You understand what I'm saying? So Gil Scott Heron had poems like Whitey on the Moon and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Very, very hard topics and things of that nature, which is a lot of, you know, similar topics that Lord Jamar speaks on. Right.
But would you say that, like, the average person who doesn't listen to spoken word or don't know that, they think that way, like Lord Jamar thinks? Like they think that it's more.
Yeah, it's a stereotype.
Right. So
it's an absolute stereotype. But what I'm saying is like, you know, all right, stereotypes, they come from some sort of truth, I guess you can say. But the problem with stereotypes is that when people try to say everyone in that automatically,
when they try to make a stereotype a fact, that's when it goes. It becomes an issue.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a fact at the end of the day.
Right. Not like all black people don't like watermelon. It's not a fact. You know what I'm saying?
At all. You know what I'm saying? It's not a fact. But you will find some black people that do love watermelon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, so as far as the soft part of it, that's not completely accurate. You know what I mean? Like there are people who come from very, very street backgrounds
that does poetry,
that do spoken word,
right? Spoken word,
and that talk about their experiences in the streets. There's poems, there's spoken word pieces out there about people doing hard time in jail. My mentor, Christopher Johnson, has a poem called Bad Idea where he talks about being locked up in Texas at a time when that shit was no joke. I'm not saying jail is a joke now, but you know what I'm saying? At a time where it was really no fucking joke. He was in Texas, a black man locked up in Texas.
Right.
And he talked about that. You understand what I'm saying? This is a dude who comes from a street background. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy named Harlem 125, one of my homies in this shit. You know what I'm saying? His name is Harlem 125, and he's not a young dude. He didn't come out of Harlem in the past 5 years where everyone in Harlem was wearing skinny jeans and dancing and stuff like that. He grew up in Harlem when it was really Harlem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Not the new Harlem, the real
yeah,
Harlem.
the Harlem that Star talks about when he's talking about, you know, Harlem got good cocaine. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about that Harlem. You know what I'm saying? His name was Harlem 125, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all of this shit is soft. Now, I will say this: spoken word is definitely a lot more inviting. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot more inviting. See, I think one of the biggest differences in spoken word is that you can have someone who's from the streets and you can have someone who's not from the streets, and we all coexist. I think that's one of the biggest differences about spoken word. But see, a lot of the stereotypical finger snapping type shit, somebody playing bongos behind you and lighting incense, that's what people automatically assume spoken word is. Right. You know what I'm saying? That it's all just, you know, and no disrespect to you know, the people that were in the movie Love Jones, but everyone, you know, thinks spoken word is that. That is all Love Jones. That is all, everything sounds like Brother to the Night, and everyone's got dreadlocks with fedoras on and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what everyone, people be thinking spoken word is. It is not that, bro. You know what I'm saying? So as far as it being soft, I don't get that. Lord Jamar did a song with a spoken word artist, Kasim Allah. Shout out to Kasim Allah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have an example of someone who does spoken word, but is in the same mind frame and realm that you're in. So how you already have an example that breaks that stereotype. You know what I'm saying? Already, you know what I'm saying? If you got one, then it doesn't represent the entire culture. You feel what I'm saying? So you already got an example of somebody who is on the same time as you, who's on the same wavelength as you. You know, it's a track called Original Man, Lord Jamar, Raekwon, and Kasim Allah. And at first, I wanted to see if Kasim was rapping. Like, did Kasim start rapping and maybe he didn't know that Kasim was a spoken word artist? Because I met Kasim in New York. You know what I'm saying? So, Kasim is doing spoken word on the track. He's not rapping. You feel what I'm saying? So, it's like, clearly there are spoken word artists that you can vibe with. You know what I'm saying? So why perpetuate the stereotype? Because it's almost, all right. He made a lot of comments about, you know, white rappers being guests in the house of hip hop, and that you know, he talked about Macklemore and you know, or he even spoke about Kanye with the skirts and stuff like that, and that, you know, changing the culture of hip hop. You know, that it's arrogant and you're not being informed, you know, of knowledge of self. Right. You feel what I'm saying? But it's also you know, it's also not well informed to make a comment that generalizes a culture that is huge. That is huge. You know what I'm saying? When you say that, you're saying that everyone is like this. You know what I'm saying? And as far as people not getting booed in spoken word, in poetry slams, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference between spoken word and a poetry slam. Spoken word is the style of writing which is free form poetry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Free form poetry, you know? Rap is poetry as well, but rap is poetry with a form. It's rhythm in poetry. You know what I'm saying? You guys, rappers figured out how to put it to a beat. You know what I'm saying? There's bar count. You're a rapper, so you know. You know what I mean? There's bar counts. There's, you know what I mean? You got.
Why is in poetry you don't have that?
You don't have that, exactly. It's spoken word. You know what I'm saying? It's free form poetry. I'll give you an example of someone who has rhymes, like a rapper that has spoken word value, that you can, you know what I'm saying, that you can put their stuff side by side with spoken word, like Nas One Mic. You know, even though it's still rap because it's formatted in rap, it you know what I'm saying, rhymes all the way through it. You know what I'm saying? It's formatted to a beat. It flows. You know what I'm saying? It has all those things. But you can, but quality wise, creativity wise, and content wise, you can match that with any spoken word poem on planet Earth, and it stands with it. But if you take a freestyle from Cassidy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where he's just talking about gripping hammers and selling coke and stuff like that, it's creative. Now, does it have poetic value? Absolutely. It has poetic value, and the reason why is because he's using metaphor. He's using things like similes. He's using double entendres, wordplay, things of that nature. He's using rhyme. It has poetic value, absolutely.
Right.
But would it work? Could I spit his verse off Psycho? My nigga beside me with triggers and niggas get bodied. I lock a strip and chop a brick like a Mr. Miyagi. I can't spit that in the spoken word. It's like, what was the point of that? It's clever. It's talent. But what's the story? What's the message? Spoken word is about the message and the story. What's the story you're trying to tell me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why you don't get spoken word poems about, you know, a million times telling someone I'm the nicest writer on planet Earth. You don't get that, and the ones that do write like that, people don't really care for it. You know what I'm saying? It's about what is your story. You know what I'm saying? And so with poetry slams, the reason why people don't get booed is because we don't care about the competition. It's never been about that.
Gotcha.
Never has been. I've beaten people in slams, and they came up to me and was like, "Bro, that was amazing." I've lost to people in slams, went up to them and said, "Yo, that was amazing." We don't care. We don't care about it. At the end of the day, it's all about sharing the work, man. It's all about sharing the work. That's all it's about at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Fuck winning. Is it a great accolade? Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But fuck winning. Who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day,
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, if you get to share your words and someone hears that, and it changes, it makes them think, then you already won. That's what we care about. That's why people don't get booed. Not because it leans towards a feminine sensibility.